Apart from writing books and making videos on this channel all about dating and relationships, I very often put my grown-up blazer and I assist in court as Lithuanian interpreter. This kind of job gives me an opportunity to interact with criminals. 5 lessons that I've learned watching abusers and their victims. Abusers come in all shapes and forms. You may have a certain understanding that once you see that person, there is a certain look to that person, maybe their body language, the way they interact with others. Very often, when I'm waiting for the court case to start, I may be sitting outside the courtroom with the defendant, and sometimes he would start interacting with me, and very often before actually going to the courtroom or going with his legal team to a separate room to discuss things, I don't even know what he's there for. And very often I do get surprised because someone may come across as very polite, far from short-tempered, extremely well articulated, and then when I enter that courtroom, I start hearing these terrible things that this person did, and I'm interpreting and I'm like, wow, I would have never thought that. I'm not saying this to scare you that the next time you're going on a date that you have to think this person is going to be abusive or things like that. But I just think it's a good idea to understand that someone who is abusive, they don't have that written on their forehead. Abusers tend to minimize the damage. So there may be a case where in a courtroom there is clear evidence and they're showing pictures of a woman with a swollen face, a black eye, blood all over her face, and that person, he would still say that maybe I'm partially guilty, or maybe they will deny those allegations at all. Maybe they will say, oh, I just pushed her a little bit and then she banged her head. I don't know what happened. She's just threatening me, calling the police for no reason. Yes, there are some cases when these things do happen, but the majority of cases are not like that. And in some cases, they just seem so oblivious. I'll tell you this little incident that happened to me. Actually, this happened more than once. I'm in a courtroom with a guy and they're showing all these pictures of the things that he did. Terrible things, the most terrible things. And then on the way out from the courtroom, he's approaching me and he's asking maybe I want to go for a drink, for a coffee. Maybe I could give him my number. So clearly, you know, this sense of damage, shame and guilt, it's just not there. You just think like, what is wrong with you? Like, what is wrong with you? You just were presented like this kind of person and now you're approaching me and you think, I'm just gonna go for it. However, I'll speak more about from the victim's perspective and what happens very often in these cases. So stick around and don't run away. By the way, I need to just stress something. I am not a legally trained professional. I'm not a barrister, lawyer, solicitor. I'm simply someone that has hundreds of hours of translation interpreting experience around certain offenders, and I'm just giving these points of view from my own observation, and then also based on someone that I grew up around, and I can see clear correlations between my dad, who was very abusive towards my mom, and these people that I met in those cases. I just want to make that very clear. Alcohol plays a huge factor in domestic abuse, and in a lot of instances of domestic violence, an abuser would say, try to minimize the damage, minimize his role, saying, I don't remember anything, or I don't know what happened because I was drunk. It's one of those things where the person who is doing something, who is hurting someone, is not taking a responsibility. Previously I mentioned how they may say that, oh, I just pushed her a little bit, and here it's like, it's not me, it's the vodka, it's not me, it's the beer. So it's also, you know, not wanting to take this responsibility and blaming the alcohol. Now let's move to the victims. Abusers' victims very often don't leave. They have this strong belief that this was a one-off and that he will change, even though maybe this may have happened 10, 20 or even more times. Also, very often victims, they blame themselves and they think that their behavior is the reason why they're being abused. So if they just changed certain things, if they just behaved in a different way, if they stopped saying certain things that are triggering the abuser, then that won't happen in the future. I've also seen cases where children are taken away from the family because a woman refuses to break up, divorce a man who is being abusive and who is dangerous not only to that woman but also to children. Of course, there are so many different cases and I'm just touching a few in this video. And the most important thing to mention, it's a vicious circle that may last generations unless you choose to break out of it. So maybe you're coming from a family where, whether firsthand or secondhand, you experience abuse, which is a terrible thing, and now you have a choice of repeating that cycle and maybe passing that to your children if you decide to have them. Maybe you'll have nieces who will see some of that, and you are also as an example, because you'd be surprised how many people actually look up to you and notice your actions. You staying in that relationship and choosing to be with someone like that, it's like a ripple effect. And it's not just going to affect you, but it's going to affect other people as well. And I'm saying that because I grew up with a father and I witnessed that. And for many years, I could still see the damage that it's done to me. And maybe I wouldn't go towards someone who would be terribly abusive to me, but I would still choose those toxic relationships, those that in a way replicate whatever I saw when I was growing up. So I would really encourage you, whether you are going through something like that or maybe you know someone who's experiencing abuse, there is a lot of support out there. If you can't afford a therapist, there is also a lot of free organizations, charities, and I really hope that with the support of people around you, you'll be able to make those different choices, those choices that will keep you safe and that will create loving and beautiful relationships in your life. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a bit different from other videos on my channel. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you like this video, please click like. Remember to subscribe, and this is the whole playlist for you to watch about unavailable man. I shall see you there, and always remember that you are worthy of love. See ya.